So here are all the major components laid out for the M40A5 build. I'm calling this kind of an M40A5 restomod type build. There's a lot of true, original, correct components here, but there's a couple of small changes made so that we can get the maximum performance out of a modern bolt-action rifle. So first off, my customer is able to source a true US serial number stamped receiver. So you can see I've got part of the serial number taped over, but there's a US stamped serial number Remington 40X. And it had the original stripper clip flange machined into it. And so I've gone in and opened that up the rest of the way to accept the one-piece Badger 30 MOA rail that drops down in there. That's a more robust and rugged rail setup for this type of build. And is correct to what this action should have on it. Next, we've got a correct McMillan stock. We've got a correct night vision bridge. We've then got Badger M5 bottom metal. And then the barrel is a Krieger that I cut already earlier in the video here. So this is a Krieger 30 cal blank. We've cut it for 5/8 24 threads. I love Krieger barrels, they cut great. I've also gone in and drilled the receiver for an alignment pin for our pinned recoil lug. And then we do have an upgraded PT&G one-piece bolt body to go with the action. So you've got an M16 extractor and a true tuned firing pin assembly on that. And then from there, a Timney Trigger. We are putting a Surefire muzzle device out on the end of this barrel to then mount one of the more modern Surefire cans. So we're kind of 3/4 of the way through the build at this point. We've got to do the assembly on the barreled action and then do the bedding, and this action is going to get Cerakoted in this case. But yeah, so that's where we're at so far, and I'll keep taking you along for the ride. Thanks. So I filmed that intro about 3/4 of the way through the build. We're actually going to back up a little bit and kind of go through the whole process that got us to this point in the build. So here you can see I'm going in and opening the rear bridge up for the Badger scope rail. This is an original stripper clip flanged cut receiver, but at this point we're opening it to accept that longer Badger rail setup. So here you can see I've got a little 1/8 inch end mill and I'm pocketing the back of the receiver to accept that rail. And now here you can see I'm measuring the offset from the front receiver ring to the rear bridge just so I can get the height right. There's a lot of math involved in setting up these rails correctly, and although a lot of guys say you can just take a certain amount off the rear bridge measuring from the front bridge, I found that wasn't the case, and I had to change my measurements just slightly so that everything would be a true 30 MOA install. So here we've got the face mill, and we're going to go ahead and take our cut down to depth to go ahead and establish our correct height so that our rail will sit flat. Normally on these receivers you would have to open the screw holes up to 840s, but in this case they had already been opened up previously, so I didn't have to do that on this one. And then here's a test fit / final install on that rail once everything's been modified correctly. So now here I'm getting the Krieger barrel set up in the lathe so that I can get it roughed in and then dialed in so that we can go ahead and start doing all of our thread work on the tenon. When it comes to dialing in barrels in the lathe, I really don't compromise whatsoever. I put a lot of effort into making sure these barrels are dialed in straight and truly concentric to make sure we can get the absolute maximum performance out of every barrel that comes through my shop. And you'll see on this build specifically, it has fantastic results downrange, and a lot of that is because of the extra effort I put into dialing these barrels in on the lathe to make sure they are properly done correctly. So here I'm now turning the tenon on the Haas TL1 CNC lathe. This Haas TL1's been an awesome addition to the shop. I really, really like it so far, and I've been doing more and more work on it here recently. So here we are threading the tenon just so we can go ahead and get the action fit to this barrel. And now here we'll go ahead and just double check and test fit that everything fits correctly. So now that our action fits, we'll go ahead and start boring out the bolt nose recess. So here I've got the barrel set up in the lathe for chambering, and I'm running a 308 reamer into the barrel to go ahead and cut the chamber. Here you can see how little to no run out I have in this chamber. I have essentially none. So with the needle touching up in the throat area, you can see that it makes no movement whatsoever. Up in the front of the shoulder, same thing, no movement whatsoever on the needle. And then we'll run back to the rear of the chamber and do the same thing, and we will touch off. And you can see that there is no movement on that needle whatsoever in the rear of the chamber. And then I will run the indicator off the back just to show that it is touching, and there was no run out. So that is a perfect chamber, no run out whatsoever, concentric, true, and ready to rock. The next step in the process is to test fire the barrel. So here I've got the barrel on hand tight with a trigger installed. I'll take a factory loaded semi-spec 308 round and then go ahead and fire it, and then measure the case to make sure I have proper expansion and no marks in the chamber. So here I'm getting the barrel set up so we can go ahead and cut the muzzle threads and crown, properly true and concentric up front as well, so that we can run suppressors with no baffle strikes and have a perfect exit on that bullet, leaving the crown. Next, we prep the stock for our bedding compound just to make sure we have proper adhesion between the bedding compound and the stock for a reliable fit. Then we're going to go ahead and get ready to actually bed the stock. So we'll go ahead and get our bedding compound mixed up and then start applying it to our stock so that we can get this thing bedded. After I bedded the action to stock fit, the next day I did go ahead and glue in the night vision bridge. I just didn't take any footage of that for this video. Now we're getting everything prepped for Cerakote here, so we sandblast the barrel and the action to have proper adhesion. And then here we are actually spraying out the graphite black Cerakote onto the barreled action. Once everything's sprayed, it is baked in an oven for proper cure, and here's all the parts laid out on the table ready for final assembly. Here is the finished project, and I am really happy with it. I enjoyed working on this. It was something very cool to come through the shop, and it also performed incredibly well downrange. As you can see, my customer has had fantastic results with the 176 grain A-tips, but also the Berger 200.2 hybrids. So here's the rifle outfitted with the scope and night vision bridge that belong to its owner. And once again, hey, thanks everybody for watching this video. If you need a awesome precision bolt action rifle built, let me know. Servos Custom Firearms, Stapleton, Alabama. Thanks for watching the Green Shark Precision YouTube channel. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe so I know you want some more content. Thanks again.